look I raised over there. Thanks very much, West Urban Development, Terry, and your incredible team for including me here today, along with my Common Sense Conservative team. We've got Common Sense Conservative MP from Kamloops, Frank Caputo, Common Sense Conservative from Kelowna, and former businesswoman. She owned a beautiful chain, I think it was the best chain, wasn't it, of wine stores in all of BC. This is Tracy Gray. And we have Common Sense Conservative from the northern part of the Okanagan, including Vernon and Salmon Arm and other areas. My Shadow Minister of Fisheries, Mel Arnold, is here as well. I'm not missing anyone. But listen, we're here today, first of all, to honor and thank you. You are the people that are literally building the homes that put roof over head for our many Canadian people who are in desperate need of housing. Very brief summary of my life. I was born to a 16-year-old unwed mother in Calgary who put me up for adoption with two school teachers who taught me that in this country it didn't matter where you came from, it mattered where you were going. It didn't matter who you knew, it mattered what you could do. That's the country my wife came to as a refugee. It's the country we want for our kids and yours. Unfortunately, it's not the country that we see when we look around us today. After 8 years of Justin Trudeau and the NDP, they're just not worth the cost. Housing costs have doubled. The cost of living is rising faster than at any time in a generation. Interest rates are increasing faster than at any time in monetary history. Work doesn't pay. You make it, and Trudeau takes it. The NDP helps him do it. We have crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder in our streets, and the Prime Minister's obsession is to take away your hunting rifle. We also see the government dividing in order to take more control and rob people of their freedom. But the good news is, life wasn't like this before Trudeau and the NDP, and it won't be like this after they're gone. We're going to turn the hurt they've caused into the hope that Canadians need. And here's my common sense plan. We're going to bring home lower prices by axing the carbon tax. That'll bring down gas, heat, and indirectly grocery bills. We're going to cap government spending and cut government waste to balance the budget so that we can bring down interest rates and inflation. The reason we have this inflation is very simple. We've created $600 billion of cash to fund government spending. That's a 32% increase in the money supply in 3 years, during which the economy grew by 4%. So the money is growing at 32%, and the stuff money buys is growing at 4%. So when the money grows 8 times faster than the stuff it buys, everything gets bid up. No wonder you can't afford anything. This is good for the billionaire class because all of their assets get bid up and they become more wealthy. Their fancy watches, their art collections, their land holdings, their stocks, their gold all becomes more valuable when money printing happens, but your paycheck is reduced in purchasing power. You get a real pay cut when that happens. So it's a transfer of wealth from the have-nots to the have-yachts, and the working class is getting screwed in this country. We're going to cap the spending and stop the central bank from printing money so that we restore the purchasing power of your dollar and you get rewarded for your hard work. Speaking of which, we're going to lower income taxes so that you bring home more of every dollar you earn, and hard work actually pays off in this country. We want you to be able to bring that money to a home. In order to do that, we need to build homes. I met a carpenter in Sault Ste. Marie who lives in a parking lot. That's not an unusual story these days. You know, it's crazy to think that the guys who build our homes can't afford to live in them. But that's the state of it. After 8 years of Trudeau, housing costs have literally doubled. The average rent when I was housing minister 8 years ago was $950. It's now $2,000 and rising every single month. The average mortgage payment for a brand new home was $1,400. Now it's $3,500. Just 8 years. In other words, the cost of housing has risen more in the last 8 years than it had risen in the previous 160 years of Canada's history. There's 2 reasons for this. One, government money printing flooded the financial system so that wealthy investors could borrow the money, buy up homes, and bid up costs. Now the government spending drives up interest rates on mortgage payments, forcing more people to rent, which means more people are competing for a limited supply of rental properties. Finally, we don't have enough homes. We have the fewest homes per capita of any country in the G7, even though we have the most land to build on. Why? Because we have the second slowest building permits. What do you think is the #1 cost input for a newly built home in Toronto, in Vancouver? Anybody want to guess? Is it land? No. Is it labor? No. Is it lumber? No. What is it? Taxes and permits. Taxes and permits. The consultants, the delays, the permitting fees, the development charges, the lawyers, the consultants, none of which actually builds anything. It doesn't go into the window or the roof or the floor or the wall. It's just paper. We've got to remove the bureaucracy to speed up home building and lower the cost. So I'm going to require cities boost the number of housing completions by 15% per year, or they're going to lose their federal money. If they beat my target, they'll get a bonus. If they miss my target, they'll get a fine, and it will be strictly proportional. If they beat my target by 10%, they'll get 10% more money. If they miss it by 10%, they'll get 10% less. They'll get paid like realtors on performance. I want the bureaucracies to be thinking about how quickly they can move to get projects like this going. We're going to sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land. And CMHC, you have to deal with CMHC?
Absolutely.
And they take forever to approve project financing, don't they?
Certainly these days, they certainly do.
How long?
Raj, how long for
Ballpark.
average?
5-6 months.
5-6 months?
5-6 months. They're supposed to have it done in 60 days to approve these projects. So I'm passing a law that says either they approve these projects in 60 days or the executives will have their pay cut in half. And if they don't get down to the 60-day target within a year, the entire executive's getting fired. I'm going to pass a law called the Welcome to the Real World Act. Because in the real world, if you're a carpenter or a plumber or an electrician and you don't do your job, you get fired. But in the government, you get a bonus when you screw things up. That's not going to happen anymore. We're going to be firing incompetent government executives and holding them to accountability. Because when they block these projects, people go without homes. I want us to have the fastest building permits in the world here in Canada, and we're going to clear the way to do it. That's going to mean that you're going to have affordable homes, and you're going to be building those homes. Bigger paychecks, building homes, more affordable homes for you to live in. That's my and we're also going to back up the trades. We don't need more suits, we need more boots in Canada. So we're going to get more Red Seal education material into our high schools so our teenagers can start in these fields when they're young. We're also going to give you tax fairness. Right now a CEO can write off the cost of his private jet, but a pipe fitter can't write off the cost of traveling from Timmins to Fort Mac to work on a project. So we're bringing in the Tax Fairness for Traveling Trades Workers Act that will let you write off the full cost of your food, transportation, and accommodation to travel across Canada and go to work. Common sense. We want your homes to be in safe neighborhoods. So we're going to be cracking down on the repeat violent offenders. The good news is Canada doesn't have a lot of criminals. The bad news is they're very productive. In Vancouver, they had to arrest the same 40 criminals 6,000 times in 1 year. That's 150 arrests per offender per year. They're released on the same day on bail. This is the catch and release Liberal NDP bail system. I'm getting rid of that, and I'll make you, anybody who has a long rap sheet of violent offenses will be ineligible for bail, parole, or house arrest. It will be jail, not bail for repeat violent offenders. We're going to stop giving out drugs. They're flooding our streets with pharmaceutical-grade opioids. They say it's safe. The opioid crisis started because of pharmaceutical-grade opioids when the corrupt pharmaceutical companies pushed this stuff on our medical system and saw it overprescribed. They literally sought to cause overdoses because they made billions of dollars of profit doing it. And now, with the drug crisis, the government says, let's give more tax dollars to the same corrupt pharmaceutical companies to give out safe opioids, which then get resold to kids so that the addicts can buy more dangerous fentanyl. That's why you see these tent cities everywhere in Canada that we never had before Trudeau and the NDP. My common sense plan stops funding opioids, starts funding treatment and recovery so we can bring our loved ones home drug-free. And we're going to sue the corrupt big pharma companies to collect millions and billions of dollars to pay for treatment centers to take care of our people. And we're going to stop going after your hunting rifle. We know that lawful, law-abiding RPAL and PAL holders are not the ones shooting up our streets, because criminals don't get PALs. They don't go out and get a license before they rob a bank. So we're wasting billions of dollars confiscating hunting rifles from the lawful people rather than cracking down on the gun smugglers. I'll put the money into reinforcing our borders to keep smuggled guns out, and I will stand up for your right to hunt and lawfully use your property for sport shooting and other legitimate recreation. We're going to put you back in charge of your democracy by banning my ministers from any involvement in the World Economic Forum. I'll make sure that we have no central bank digital currency, no mandatory digital ID. We will legislate an end to all federal COVID mandates. We will shut down the Beijing-controlled police stations that are in our country harassing our people, and we will rebuild our military to protect our freedom in a dangerous world. We'll do that with money that we bring home that currently we're giving away in wasteful foreign aid to terrorists, dictators, and multinational bureaucracies that don't work for our interests. I want to bring that money home and use it to support our troops and rebuild our armed forces. This is common sense, my friends. The common sense of the common people united for our common home. Your home, my home, our home. Let's bring it home. Thank you.